Welcome back to, kind of another one of our interviews, like pop-up interview series. Today we have Mike Rolih, the founder, CEO, whatever title you want to give him for GoRout. Again, GoRout's briefly been talked about on our channel before, but we're going to kind of talk their new gridiron system and kind of how they're helping on-field communication during games and not just football, but also some other sports as well. Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing real good, man. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Like I said, you guys reached out and I looked at it and I'm like, oh, this is an interesting little advancement that you guys have kind of come up with, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But like first, and I'm always curious about how people get places. Why did you found your business Go Route? Because I like again, it's been around for a while. I know you started out as again, we're looking at practice and other things too, but like you've taken some major advancements since then. Kind of what was you as a baseball coach is kind of okay, this is where I want to go from a business perspective and why I kind of wanted to go this direction.
Yeah, it really it happened kind of on accident, in all honesty. So, um, once I got done playing pro baseball, and then I was a college coach, and then was scouting for a while. My wife and I we moved to Minnesota from Chicago, and a buddy of mine that I played high school football with was coaching at a local junior college, and I just simply went out and watched them practice one day, and everyone's been there, right? You're sitting there, you're at practice, you're going through Indy, you're going through all these different things. Practice is running around, going smooth. And then all of a sudden, you get to the part of practice where you start preparing for the upcoming opponent. And it's like all hell breaks loose. Guys are running around screaming. Players don't know where to go. Guys aren't subbing in right. Calls aren't being right. Routes are being run wrong. And it's just a lot of effort, time, and energy. And for really a lot of lack of production and a lot of inefficiencies. And what really struck me was as I was watching them practice, and I went back a handful of days in a row, was that process hadn't evolved since I played high school football back in, the mid 1990s. I was like, how has this not gotten better? And when I was talking to my buddy, it was really like, hey, there's really a couple of options. One, we can give more people binders. So we're talking to the outside, the left, outside, right, back, the line, and then the backfield. We can draw these really intricate wristbands that we don't have time to do because we're a junior college. We don't have staff or budget. Or we've just got to try to really slow it down and just try to run, a rep every minute and a half and just try to get them to give us the best possible look. And all three of those options transparently just didn't seem like they were really viable options to me. I just didn't believe that was a good scenario. And I didn't know exactly how to solve it, but I knew there was problem. There was a problem there that needed to be solved because there was chaos.
Yeah.
And basically what ended up happening was at the time, I didn't really have to take a job. I didn't have to work for a minute. So I was kind of figuring out what I wanted to do. So I was taking I took a job driving a limo, and I was driving people from Mayo Clinic to the Minneapolis airport back and forth. And what I was doing is I was just thinking about this very specific problem and like what really solves it. And at the end of the day, what I ended up doing is I came up with the idea of going to get some prepaid cell phones, and I just sat down and said, okay, I'm going to write a software program that allows me to load some cards in, some plays in, and we're going to send the information from the people who have it to the people who need it. And we're going to do it so they don't have to come back and slow practice down. Like that time frame is where the inefficiency starts to lie. And so I was like, well, let me see if this can be a thing. So I sat down and I built it, a very, very, very crappy, proof of concept of it. I took it over to him and I said, okay, here's a couple phones. Let's throw them on a belt, like real simple stuff. And we loaded up some other plays. And the first time they hit send and the information transmitted out to the players and they didn't have to come back, he looked at me and he just goes, wow. And like right there, I was like, well, this is a product and this deserves to live. And there's a lot of products in the world that don't deserve to live, but I saw an immediate direct translation between what they were doing and what they could be doing. And I was like, this deserves to give it a chance. And And so that was back in 2015 is when I did that. We finally got to market in 2017 and started very, very slow, very methodical, focused really much more on product market fit, and just incrementally kept growing and building and improving the product along the way. And now we've gotten to the point on the football practice side where, we're working with thousands of teams, and, that's Michigan and Alabama football and Auburn. And, you go up and down the SEC, ACC, Big 12, Big 10, high schools. I think last year we had 46, 47 state champions at all different levels across the country. 78% of the teams that used us made their state playoffs. Like, it's incredible what we've been able to build on the football side of just from practice, getting coaches to understand that if you really value practice, if you really value time efficiency, if you really value getting the most out of your time, why are you settling for bad reps every minute and a half when you can get a good quality rep in 15 to 20 seconds? And we've kind of evangelized that for the last 10 years, and it's been great.
No, perfect. And like, I think that's interesting. And now let's take it to the next step, because again, that's practice, but again, there's a push for not only lower level college football, which has not really had on-field communication, but also high school football. And I know Texas has approved it. We'll talk about Texas and your involvement there in a second. But for on-field communication, that's been an argument forever is, okay, yeah, upper level college and the NFL has on the field communication, but it's not cost affordable or liability realistic for lower level college or high school.
Right.
And that's always been one of the arguments against it. And you may have now found a way, it looks like everything I've researched and kind of us talking before it came on, found kind of the way around that. Like, what is the gridiron system for people who haven't heard of it? Especially because, again, I have a lot of Texas followers, and now that this has been approved, like, what is the gridiron system, and kind of what is the kind of the purpose behind it?
Yeah. So the gridiron system, and first I want to say this, right? Like, there is definitely a place in the game, obviously, for in-helmet communication. And what we try to make sure that coaches understand when it comes to the gridiron system and what we're doing is that it's not an if or, right? It's not a this or that. We think there's a really good opportunity to augment on both solutions. But the what our technology is, our gridiron system is basically a smartwatch, very similar to your Apple Watch, except it's ruggedized and it's really well built. And it's a one-way communication that allows a coach to build on our software, basically take their game sheets that they build throughout the course of the week as their game planning, however they design it, import it into our system. Our system then takes your call sheet and digitizes it into touchable elements. And when you touch an element, that element transmits down to every watch on the field. So the really big value prop here, right, is when you go to something like in-helmet communication, you're talking to one player. Now it's the quarterback, and it's really valuable and it's really important, but it's one player. So all those other players are still going to be looking to the sidelines, and you're still going to be going through your signals, and you're going to be going through that process. With our technology, every player can wear one of these because there's no limit in the state of Texas, and we don't think there's going to be a limit as this continues to expand. And now instead of it being coach to player, we're coach to players. So now you can communicate with all 11 simultaneously and instantly the play call. And we trialed this last fall with a D3 league at the NCAA level, the Liberty League up in upstate New York. They used our technology for all of their conference games. And the biggest thing that came out of that trial when they used our technology was there was almost more value on the defensive side of the ball for coaches in the game than there even was on the offensive side of the ball. Because if you think about it, offenses can already go fast, but defenses are so reactionary to what's going on and how they're moving around. And now defensive coaches can now hit a button and automatically adjust to what the offense is doing instantly without having the players do a bunch of different reads and cues. They can be a little bit more involved in how they're going to get those defensive players lined up. And that was the biggest like aha moment from that trial last year with the Liberty League, was just simply, it's great for offense. It's great for communication. It simplifies things. It gets rid of the big boards with all the pictures on it. It gets rid of the hand signals or the multiple colored shirts and all the other things that you see in the sidelines. It gets rid of all that clutter, but it also allows defenses to play at the same pace that offenses are playing at.
Yeah.
And that's revolutionary.
No, I would agree. Like because again, I'm a defensive coach, and like just thinking about it, like again, some of those adjustments or a call, especially if you get again with offenses nowadays with no huddle and all the movement and shifts and motions, like you can get something in pretty quick and make an adjustment or get that call instead of you trying to scream a signal or, as you said, get the old giant bulletin board level signs out there with eagles and all that crap on it. So I think that from an ingenious standpoint can make some of those adjustments or flips. I think it also kind of deals with the sign stealing issue of, again, we talk about it and we'll talk about it in our avenue here in a minute, but like, again, that was the big college hotspot, what, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, whatever it is. Can't steal signs if it's all on a watch.
Right. And I think that was some of the miss that the NCAA made, unfortunately, is that, at the NFL level, it works, right? Because everybody huddles anyway. The game is so much different. At the college level, the high school level, the lower levels of college football, everybody's doing something completely different. There's, 30 teams in the NFL or 32 teams in the NFL. They all run basically the same stuff. They all do the same stuff. They all check inside the hashes, which are really narrow. It's just a different game. And if you look at college sidelines this past year, yeah, they're talking to their quarterback, but they still got three guys wearing different colored shirts. They still got video boards. They still got the big sailboat things covering up the DC and the OC on the sidelines. So they didn't get rid of any of the things they tried to get rid of. All the sign stealing is still happening on the sidelines, where a single touch of a button eliminates all of that. I mean, we're doing that already in the baseball and softball space, right? Like you saw Major League Baseball went to a handful of years ago, up and down major college baseball and softball, all the way down to travel club baseball and softball. Teams are using us all over the place to get rid of, the sign stealing from pitcher to catcher. They're getting rid of it from defensive signs on different alignments and positioning. They're getting rid of the signs from the third base coach's box. All of this stuff is really geared to simplifying the game for the athlete. So the athlete can just focus on producing, performance and execution. And at the end of the day, clarity and communication is a game changer and a competitive advantage. If we communicate better than you, we communicate clearer than you, my players understand what to do better than you, faster than you, we can do things more efficiently than you. And that's competitive advantage. That equals wins. I can win this rep. I can win this series. I can win this game. I can win a state title. I can win a national title because of that. That's how powerful communication is. And we, with the way our technology is, the way we've built it, the way it works, we feel like we're going to be able to provide a competitive advantage to a lot of teams who are going to try to implement this.
And I'll come back to the baseball, softball space here in a minute. But like my question, because this is me as the coach, who's a high school coach who also teaches 6 to 7 periods a day. What does the upfront labor look like? Like, because again, that's going to be again, scout cards are the same, wristbands are the same for in game when you're signaling that in. I get that, but like, what is the actual like upfront time commitment roughly, or the process with that together? Because that's where my mind goes.
Yeah. So when you're building your game plan throughout the course of the week, you're probably building it out on an Excel sheet, and then you're putting in some layout, right, that you're going to then print out and you're going to laminate and you're going to have for what you're going to do for Friday night. Well, instead of printing all of that out, all you're doing is exporting your Excel spreadsheet, dragging and dropping it into our system, and you're done. That's it. It doesn't change your workflow, doesn't change how you build your call sheets, doesn't change how you build your game plan. But once you've built your call sheet, you export it, drag and drop it into our system, just like using Google Drive or Dropbox. You just drop it in. Our system breaks it all down, analyzes it, organizes it by personnel or by alignment or formation or whatever you want to call it. And then from there, it's all tagged together and you're done. There's nothing else you have to do. It will literally mirror your call sheet. And then as you're calling plays, it just waterfalls down. So as you want to go first to third, or you want to go to 11 personnel, or you want to go to a heavy or a goal line, or you're going to go to base, you're going to select base, and then it's going to give you all the options in your call sheet that are under base. And it's going to let you select whatever one you want. Whatever you touch goes right to the watches. So there's nothing you have to like build a bunch of stuff and then hit an extra button. As you're thinking through the process, you're communicating with the players.
Okay. And then like my next question is because obviously we have 11 on the field. Like, when you go this route, do you just get 11 or do you have spares? Because again, I know you said they're durable, and like I said, my research said it looked like they're pretty sturdy. But again, I deal with high school kids,
Oh
and
yeah,
at times, and you always got the one who's gonna be like, oh, can I hit my hand against a concrete wall and make bad life choices?
no
There's always
doubt.
you can statistically, there's always one. Like, you have 30 kids on a small high school football team, there's always at least one. You go to a larger school, there's like five. Like, they're usually
Yep.
freshmen that just don't know better. Let's just call space bait. Like, so, like, and I'm assuming there's probably different levels to it, but like general, like when you purchase the system, like how many watches does the school typically get for like the initial whatever package?
Yeah, so what we're seeing right now out of Texas is that the average is right around 15 or 16 watches per package. And, they can be used on both sides of the ball by a simple button. You can touch the watch and you can switch it from offense to defense. So, you can be as granular or as detailed or as generic and as you want to be. So, there's a lot of flexibility in how we've built it. So you don't need 22 or 30 or 35 of these. And on top of that, just like with all of our GoRout products, as long as you're up to date on your subscription every year, your devices are 100% lifetime warranted. So if something were to go wrong, damaged, broken, what have you, it's getting switched out for you in 48 hours. And all you're doing is calling into support or sending a text saying, hey, I need a watch swap. We had one that broke, or we won this, that, or the other. And our support team drops it right in the mail, and you get a tracking lever, and it's on its way to you. It's super simple. We don't fight with coaches on that stuff. But to be honest with you, in our scout side, our scout product, in the last 5 years, with more than 15,000 units out in the last 5 years, we replaced less than three. On our Liberty League trial last year at the NCAA level, we had about 200 watches that were being used in the trial. We replaced one. So we feel pretty confident that overall teams are going to, and this is when they were practicing with it all week and then using it obviously in game. We feel pretty confident in the durability and the ruggedity of the devices, but we also want to make sure coaches always know that the peace of mind of when you buy a GoRout product, you're not on an island where you have to go out and rebuy stuff. It's always warranted and always taken care of for you as long as you're a customer of ours.
Okay. Now, I want to go back to the game day stuff real quick, and before I hit my last two questions is,
Yeah.
obviously it sends in stuff. You talked about the play call, but what else? 'Cause I remember seeing like it can give you like either like rules or like key coaching points or whatever it is. So when you click the play, what is it actually, or what can you schedule it to send in to the players?
Yeah, so you can schedule it to send in the full play diagram. There are options for you to be position specific and granular, where you can message, groups or individual positions themselves. It really doesn't, we don't limit you. So if you're just a one word offense, you can send in one word. If you're more of like a pro style West Coast offense and you have a massive amount of text or terminology into a play, the watches dynamically adjust all of the image, all of the text, so it'll fit. So your players don't have to interact and scroll. You can be selective in what position groups get what. So we've built it to really be, again, as granular or as general as you really want it to be.
Okay. Now, I do want to hit on, because again, have a fairly large Texas following, and mostly because I have a lot of friends, coaches, and I've had them on. Like again, Texas is transitioning to allowing high school game day, and obviously that'll probably be the first domino. Probably open up to the rest of the country at some point. It's
Yep.
just how dominoes go. And then I again reading the article, your equipment has been approved for that. Do you want to kind of talk about that and the availability to Texas high school coaches for this coming fall and going forward?
Yeah, so the rule allows wearable technology either around the waist through a waist pack or the a watch or what have you. No audio in helmet is allowed right now, and there's no limit to the number of players that can wear it on the field. So you can just put it on your quarterback if you choose. You can put it on every player on the field. You can put it on every player on the field and the sidelines. There's no limit. And the only thing that they have to do is they have to send the play calls from the press box. They can't have any of the tablets or the technology on the sidelines. And I know like the 6A the 6-man schools, the 1A schools right now, they're working through some of that from a press box perspective on if they can send from the sidelines. I know that's been some of the questions we've received, but you know what's really awesome, right? And I give UIL and Texas coaches, the Texas THSCA, a tremendous amount of credit, right? The Texas football coaches, the UIL, the Texas coaches, THSCA, they don't follow anybody. They're the bellwether around the country that everybody else follows. And, you know, they had the courage to look at this and say, this is a way for us to really provide our coaches a tool that allows them to maximize communication without worrying about the liability of adjusting the padding in the helmets and putting things in there that could cause a lot of legal concern throughout the course of the state, especially with specific ISDs and school districts, etc. And you know what I would encourage coaches to do, and we've already had a bunch. So in the first week of this, we've already done over 300 demos. We already have over 100 contracts out. We've already had 10 teams sign with us, like Hutto and Highland Park, and a handful of other coaches already jumping on board. Um, you know, what I would tell them is that we understand it's not what you've seen on Sundays, but what's really interesting here is we have offered a technology that really can do exactly what you want it to do. It can do exactly what you need it to do, and it's just doing it in a slightly different way that you've not seen before. And if you have questions or you have concerns or you want to learn more about it, you can certainly reach out to us. And we've got a great 15-minute video that literally walks you soup to nuts through the entire system, how it works, the value proposition for both offense, defense, special teams. And it'll show you, like, again, from that, not thinking coach to player, but thinking coach to players, how much more dynamic and more efficient you can be with communication through a wearable solution. And we're really excited to share this with coaches all over the country.
I didn't even think about special teams until you just said it, because I am a like mad scientist with like swinging gate and multiple kickers on the field. So you have just, I just that yeah, that would make my life a lot easier on some of the so I'm not
No
signaling
doubt.
weird hand signs like that is okay. Yeah. Like that's I think where I mean you meant college is not overly creative in special teams, mostly for a lot of reasons, but high school wise, I think that's where some people probably could get really exotic now that I think about it, that run swinging gates or have weird kickoffs like I do. Or when you want to check to something because they're
Right. You got the right look, or somebody moved in the wrong way, or they're lined up incorrect, and now you've got a gap or something. Yeah, 100%.
okay, that makes sense. Now I do also want to hit on the baseball and softball aspect because yeah, I am
Yeah.
primarily a football channel, but I have no problem helping any other sports and advertising anything. I think a third of my football team plays baseball. So, and I grew up on a softball field because that's what my mother played, rec me growing up. So I have a gigantic affinity for softball as well. Um, like because the end, like obviously, and you mentioned a little bit, like obviously this has helped the game day football space and Texas and all that, but I mean you talked about the college level and the travel ball level and how big this has become there. How has it really benefited baseball for any like colleges or travel teams looking at stuff like that? How is it? I mean, I can use the common sense stuff, but like from coaches talking to you that use it, like where do they
Yeah.
really excel or where does it become beneficial in baseball and softball?
So where it really comes down and helps, um, is really a couple things, right? Obviously, the pitcher catcher communication and getting rid of the signs, right? Especially when you get runners at second base. But it's all the other ancillary stuff. So we're the only product that allows coaches to load up scouting reports about the opposing team. So just like you can do in football and you can tell your slot guy to run, run a dig, or you can tell the back to shift or what have you, we can tell the left fielder to play no doubles. We can tell the center fielder to shade 3 steps to the left. We can tell the second or the third baseman to play on the grass and tell the shortstop to play 2 steps to the bag on each individual pitch for this specific hitter. We can change and move guys around on our watches to not only just worry about the pitch call, but all the other things, right? Because like my background being in baseball, and I was a pitching coach at Division I level, I coached the professional level. If I call fastball away, it's not just fastball away. There's all these other contextual elements of the game that you got to apply to that, right? What kind of hitter is he? What kind of speed does they have, etc. And that's both in the baseball and softball side. The other element that this really helps is, again, no different than when your kids are looking at the sideline and they're going through all your hand signals and they're like staring at some girl in the stands because they lost track. Third base coach going through all this stuff and, well, what's the indicator and what's the hot and what's the cold and what's not. Now all of a sudden they just hit a button and it steals second base, or it's bunt and run or hit and run. And it just, again, it gets rid of all the cloudiness and all the confusion. And especially at the club level where you're playing like these really higher end club teams that are bringing players in, they're just kind of meeting up for a tournament and they're leaving. There's no time for practice. And these guys are showing up and just trying to play the game together. They can show up and now they can just worry about communication because they put a watch on. The coaches can send stuff from the dugout to the third base box, and it just simplifies the entire game. So it gets back to the core premise of clarify communication so players can just perform.
Okay. Now my last question, and I did not ask you for this because I just thought of this. Is it one? Because again, I've been at some schools where certain colors are not allowed, for obvious reasons. Like, and I can think of when I visited Midland and Texas this past year, and there's certain colors you just don't wear to their practice. Is there any? Does it just come in one color, the band and everything, or are there options? Just I gotta ask because I know some of my Texas brothers are gonna ask that question. So, or they're gonna get some
Yeah.
spraying out and get going.
So right now, everything comes in one color, and that's
Okay.
jet black.
Well, that's you. That 99% of the time, that's safe, Coach. That is
No doubt.
that is
Yep.
safe. So, I gotta ask because again, my buddy told me he showed their first practice and yeah, there's certain colors he was very advised, like, "You do this, this, and this, but you do not."
I understand. Yeah, I understand. That's like wearing maroon to in Austin, right? There's just things you don't do.
Yeah, or maize and blue in Columbus. It's just
That's right.
the
Yep.
same concepts work. Um, I mean, obviously, you're the expert. Is there anything I didn't ask or anything else you wanna hit on regarding your gridiron system before we go today?
Yeah, I think the only other thing that I would talk about is that one of the really unique value points that we bring to this is, one, more than 80% of our team, our GoRout staff, right? We're all former coaches. And more than 70% of our team has actually used our product. So they've all been coaches or are coaches or are athletes, and they've already used GoRout at the college level or at the high school level of some capacity. So when we're building things for coaches, it's really coaches building them for other coaches. We are obsessed with the idea of helping fellow coaches get more out of their time, their process, and their players. And the thing that we know a lot about is that coaches want to focus on coaching. They don't want to be IT professionals. They don't want to worry about networks. They don't want to set up They don't want to worry with their IT people. They don't want to worry about Wi-Fi and all these different things. Our technology is built so you take it out of the box, turn it on, and you start playing. You don't have to sync things up. You don't have to set up networks. You don't have to do any of that stuff. It's out of the box. You don't have to worry about it. But if there was something that comes up, there's somebody that's available for them from a support. So when you call, if you have to pick up the phone and you call in, you're not talking to an automation. You're not talking to somebody in India. You're talking to somebody that's in the United States, and they're answering the phone when you call every single time. And they're going to be a coach who's going to understand exactly what you're going through and exactly how to solve your problem.
Perfect.
Because I'd be lying to you if I didn't tell you that there would be something, anybody that tells you their technology is perfect and never goes wrong, they're lying to you. And every coach knows that, right? There's gonna be problems because things just come up. What I'll tell you, I tell every coach is that when they do come up, you're not on your own. We're gonna be here to help you solve that problem.
Yeah, no, I get that. Like I said, and I think we're realistic on that aspect. A lot of coaches are, and that's why like the network stuff or going back to that is when my problem with just headset. Like there's some stadiums I can't get my headsets to work. So at saying that the helmet communications necessarily going to be foolproof. Okay, what happens when it goes down and all that? Whereas I think this bypasses that little problem. That's why I kind of look
Right.
at, like I've gone year. I mean, my first year at Fairborn High School, almost all of our home games, our headsets didn't work because of all the stuff around the stadium kind of caused interference at the time. And we
Yep.
go away and they work perfectly. Well, that if I'm at an older school with that same problem with a headset, talking to a kid in his helmet, that could go wrong too. Whereas
Yeah,
this,
you're taking those same frequencies and you're splitting them in half, or splitting them into a third or a 15th, and now you've even got less bandwidth for those same headsets to operate.
yeah. No, I think that's what makes this go. So coaches, I'll put a link to their website down below and a link to specifically to the gridiron stuff, so that way everybody can get a hold of that. I'll put excuse me, GoRout's X, Twitter, wherever we want to call it. So if you also want to reach out that way, but that would be a multitude of ways to contact and reach out for demos and everything. Texas coaches particularly, because I know y'all are trying to figure out what to do. And like I said, he said he's already got a couple of schools already lined up, and like I said, I think it's a good avenue for a lot of you as well. Like, share, subscribe, all that jazz like normal. And then, like I said, go through and like I said, reach out and for demos and anything. Like anytime I've ever interacted with GoRout, they've been good. Like I said, they were part of the Tyson Chandler podcast episode 2 moons ago. So check them out. Otherwise, this is just another interview. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.